Welcome to My Irish Radio Music and Culture News, your connection to everything happening in the world of Irish music and culture. I'm Jamie Flanagan. Each episode will share the latest news from Ireland's vibrant music scene, from traditional and folk to rebel ballads, pub tunes, Celtic rock, and today's top Irish pop. We'll also bring you updates on festivals, cultural events, and people keeping Irish heritage alive around the world. And remember, My Irish Radio is more than just a station. It's your community, your soundtrack, your voice. You can listen 24/7 at myirishradio.com and through the links in the podcast description below. Here's the best part. You can be part of it. Host your very own show on My Irish Radio. Choose your playlist, share your stories, make My Irish Radio your Irish Radio. Let's get into what's happening this week in Irish music and culture.
You know, when we usually think about a country's main exports, we tend to think of tangible, heavy things, like cars rolling off assembly lines.
Oh, totally. Yeah, physical goods.
Exactly. Shipping containers stacked 10 high in some port. It's all very measurable, very industrial.
Right, it's actual physical weight. You can literally put it on a scale and just measure the economic output.
But then, you look at a place like Ireland, and suddenly that whole industrial shipping model just sort of flies right out the window.
Because their most potent export isn't something you can load onto a cargo ship.
No, it's not. It's a sound, it's a script, it's a feeling. So today we are jumping into a really vibrant, high-energy deep dive, taking a snapshot of Irish culture for the week of July 6th through the 12th, 2026.
And there's a lot to cover.
There really is. We've got a massive stack of updates from our source, Irish Echoes, and let me tell you, it paints a picture of a nation that is just firing on all cylinders across music, film, and sport.
It's a fascinating cross-section, really. I mean, we are looking at a country operating at peak cultural capacity right now.
Yeah, so whether you're, a dedicated culture vulture, a diehard sports fanatic, or if you're just curious about how a country successfully exports its own identity to the rest of the world, definitely stick around.
We're going to break down exactly how modern Ireland is currently blending this massive global-scale investment with really fierce grassroots tribal passion.
And honestly, just the sheer volume of events happening in this one single week is staggering. It's almost hard to keep up.
It is a lot to take in at first glance, for sure.
Right.
But we're going to synthesize these updates for you and find the bigger picture, because this isn't just, a list of gigs and games. It's a story about what this cultural explosion actually means for Ireland in 2026.
Okay, well, let's unpack this. I really want to start with the physical spaces, the live music venues, because looking at this, it feels like we are looking at a city's urban planning, but for art.
Oh, that's a good way to frame it.
Yeah, like think of a city's infrastructure. You need those multi-lane superhighways to handle all the heavy traffic, right? And we are seeing that structural planning being built in Dublin literally right now.
Right, with the Live Nation announcement.
Exactly. Live Nation just announced plans to build a brand new 20,000 capacity arena right inside Dublin's docklands. I mean, that is a massive cultural superhighway just being dropped right into the city.
It really is a phenomenal scale of investment. I mean, a 20,000-seat arena completely changes the gravitational pull of a city for international touring acts.
Because it's just so much bigger?
Yeah, exactly. It means you don't just get the occasional, stadium tour popping in during the summer. You actually become a mandatory stop on every single major global routing.
Wow. Yeah. And it handles that global traffic perfectly already. Like, we see the Pitbull I'm Back tour making a huge stop in Dublin this week.
Right, alongside these massive spectacles happening at Marlay Park and the Aviva Stadium, too.
Yeah, and even looking ahead, you've got Ezra Collective confirming a massive headline return booked for March 2027 at the Free Olympia. So that's the superhighway in action. But here is where my urban planning analogy needs a second layer.
Where's it going?
Well, a healthy ecosystem can't just be superhighways.
Yeah.
I mean, if you only have highways, nobody actually lives in the city,
That is very true.
You also need those winding, scenic back roads to get to the actual heart of a place.
The intimate historical venues, the pubs, the small clubs, the acoustic rooms.
Yes, exactly. The local lifelines. And we are seeing that perfectly mirrored this week in the sources, too.
Yeah, like Alabama 3.
Right. You have a band like Alabama 3 rolling out a dedicated acoustic tour, specifically hitting those really intimate venues across Ireland.
Which is such a contrast to the big arenas.
It is. Or, you have a legacy act like the Jimmy Cake playing this one-off performance at the National Concert Hall, the NCH, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of their iconic debut album, Brains.
Oh, wow. Playing it in full, right?
Yeah, playing the whole thing in full. It's just such a different vibe.
Well, to build on your analogy, the back roads are where the drivers actually learn how to drive in the first place.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, those intimate venues are where a local band gets their reps in. They figure out how to work a hostile crowd or how to pace a set list or, what to do when their gear breaks down mid-song.
Trial by fire.
Exactly. If you don't have those small venues, you just don't have a pipeline of talent that can eventually merge onto that superhighway and actually fill a 20,000-seat arena.
That makes total sense. I mean, without the local pubs, there's no homegrown talent to fill the stadiums 10 years down the line.
Furthermore, a band like the Jimmy Cake celebrating a 25-year legacy at an institution like the NCH, that provides a cultural anchor. It really demonstrates a maturing market.
How so? Like, what does an immature market look like?
Well, an immature music market can usually only support one extreme or the other, right? So it either has giant pop-up stadium shows with zero local scene, or it has a great local underground scene, but absolutely no infrastructure for the global acts to come through.
Right. It's unbalanced.
Yeah. And what Ireland is showing us here in 2026 is an ecosystem that can robustly support both the grassroots and the global simultaneously.
And this physical infrastructure boom is clearly like a direct response to the talent pool overflowing. Because when we look at the curation side of things, the volume of festival drops and new vinyl this week is just overwhelming.
It's a massive amount of output.
It really is. I'm looking at updates from Altogether Now 2026, and they just finalized their stages. Global Roots, AVA, Hidden Sounds, Flourish.
And they reveal the Jameson the Circle stage lineup, too.
Right, featuring MS Dynamite, Mike and Soak, and then Electric Picnic officially dropped its Salty Dog stage lineup. Clonakilty International Guitar Festival announced the first wave of acts for its 22nd year.
Clifford's, DG, and Gene Pack, I believe.
Yeah. And then Haunted Dance Hall is expanding to a full 2-night electronic festival at the NCH in October, adding Kalela, Alan Sparhawk, and Como Chisoig. Plus, there's just a wave of new music dropping.
Like Morgana from Saint Sister.
Yes. She announced her debut solo album. The whole thing was very, very emotional and dropped the single Sidekick. And Shimmer Boy, that's Aaron O'Sullivan, launched his indie rock debut In the Aftermath, We Bloom.
Featuring that massive single, How Did I Lose You?
Exactly. And that's not even counting the fresh tracks highlighted by Hot Press and Nyler 9. We've got Gurriers with Party Lines, Chalk with Get Fucked, Khaki Kid and Chameleon with Easy Does It, Bronny's LaPlane, and David Keenan with World of Refuge.
It's a huge list.
It's insane. So my immediate thought looking at this huge stack of news is that, well, maybe we're in a bubble. It feels like festival saturation. I have to ask, is this level of output actually sustainable, or is the listener's palate just getting much more sophisticated?
It is really tempting to look at a dense calendar like that and just assume it's a bubble waiting to burst.
Right, because how many festivals can one country hold?
Exactly. But if we look closer at the mechanics of what's actually being offered, I would argue we aren't seeing saturation at all. We are seeing hyper-specialization.
Okay, what is the difference there, practically speaking?
Well, saturation implies that the market is flooded with identical products. Like, if we had 50 different festivals all booking the exact same middle-of-the-road pop acts, that would be a bubble.
Sure, people would just get bored.
Right. The consumer gets overwhelmed and stops buying tickets. But hyper-specialization means the audience has actually developed such a refined palette that they demand highly specific, curated experiences.
Give me an example from our sources.
Well, let's contrast two of the artists making headlines this week. On one hand, you have Aaron O'Sullivan performing as Shimmer Boy, launching his indie rock debut album.
Right, with the track, How Did I Lose You?
Yes. This is a very anthemic, guitar-driven song. It relies on a traditional band structure, building emotional tension until it releases into this huge chorus designed for a sweaty rock club.
Yeah, classic indie rock vibe.
But then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have the Haunted Dance Hall Festival. This is a niche electronic music festival, but they are expanding it into the National Concert Hall.
Wait, the NCH is a classical venue, isn't it? Like, I'm picturing velvet seats and wood paneling designed for, symphony orchestras.
It absolutely is. And they are bringing in cutting-edge electronic acts like Kalela and Alan Sparhawk into that space.
Wow, that's a trip.
It is. The cognitive dissonance of hearing heavy sub-bass and seeing electronic producers in an environment engineered for acoustic orchestras, that's a highly specific, curated experience.
I see what you mean.
The audience going to Haunted Dance Hall is looking for that exact atmospheric tension.
Yeah.
They don't just want a generic music festival in a muddy field. They know exactly what flavor they are craving.
So the listener's palate really is just incredibly sophisticated now. They want the artisanal option, not the fast food.
Exactly. And the establishment itself is recognizing and adapting to this specialized demand. The traditional venues are opening their doors to avant-garde curation because they know the audience is there to support it.
That brings up a really interesting dynamic, actually, because it isn't just the venue owners noticing this cultural boom. The government is getting heavily involved here, too.
Oh, heavily involved.
Yeah, they clearly see this artistic success as a global asset. We are seeing what happens when culture effectively becomes an instrument of diplomacy. For instance, the Galway film Fleed just kicked off on July 7th.
Right, with the premiere of Our House.
Yes, Our House. It's this dark comedy about an inheritance battle, and it's actually the debut feature for a Northern Irish creative team. And the Minister for Culture, Communications, and Sport, Patrick O'Donovan, was there.
And what was his take on it?
He was heavily praising this as proof of the surging global demand for Irish cinematic talent.
Well, that's the soft power of the arts at work. A well-received film can often do way more for a country's international reputation than, say, half a dozen trade missions.
Yeah, but the state isn't just praising the art from the sidelines. They're funding it directly. Like, we also have the launch of Culture 2026 this week.
That's the massive funding program, right?
Huge. It's a €5 million program specifically designed to mark Ireland's presidency of the Council of the European Union. They are funding hundreds of Irish artists, theater troupes, and musicians to tour across Europe and all 26 counties of Ireland.
And there was the Arts Council announcement, too.
Right. They just opened applications for an Irish Language Theatre Award to encourage high-quality professional stage productions in the Irish language. So it's a lot of state money.
It is a very deliberate, targeted injection of capital into the cultural sector to project a specific image outward.
So I have to play devil's advocate here on behalf of you, the listener, because when a government injects €5 million into the arts specifically to celebrate a political milestone like the EU presidency, I get incredibly skeptical.
That's fair. It raises some questions.
Doesn't that risk turning organic, authentic art into just state PR? Like, if I'm a playwright and I know the grant money is tied to an EU celebration, I'm probably going to soften my script or write something that flatters the state just to get the funding.
It's a classic dilemma.
How do you even separate authentic cultural expression from a soft power marketing campaign at that point?
That is a really crucial tension to highlight, and honestly, the line is always blurred. You are entirely correct that funding often comes with strings attached.
Right. Artists have to eat.
Exactly. Artists are pragmatic. They know how to read a grant application and tailor their proposals to tick the bureaucratic boxes. I mean, this dynamic has existed since the Medicis funded the Renaissance painters in Florence.
So you're saying the state is inherently shaping the art then?
To a degree, yes, inevitably. But let's look at why this institutional backing is sometimes a necessary compromise. Take the Irish Language Theatre Award you mentioned.
Okay, the Arts Council grant.
Producing a high-quality professional stage play purely in the Irish language might not have the immediate commercial viability to survive on ticket sales alone in a globalized market, right?
Yeah, the audience is naturally smaller.
The funding creates a protective bubble where that language and that specific tradition can be explored professionally. Without the grant, the play simply doesn't happen at all.
That's true.
So sure, the artists might have to cater slightly to the grant's theme, but the core cultural transmission, the language, the storytelling, still occurs.
Okay, I see the value in protecting niche art forms. But I'm still a bit wary of the state taking credit for the organic brilliance of a dark comedy like Our House.
As you should be. The government certainly cannot manufacture a sense of humor or raw musical talent. But Minister O'Donovan's comments validate that the international market already has an appetite for the distinctly local flavor of that Northern Irish creative team.
So the demand is already there.
The demand is pre-existing and totally organic. That €5 million Couture 2026 initiative is essentially just the government renting a massive megaphone. They aren't writing the songs, They're just paying for the tour bus so European audiences can hear them.
Right. It's a marriage of convenience. The artists get the tour support they desperately need, and the state gets the good PR.
Exactly. But it's also worth noting that no matter how much money a government pours into an arts initiative, and no matter how meticulously a festival director curates a stage, there are limits to soft power.
What do you mean?
A government can only curate so much. They absolutely cannot script human emotion, and they cannot manufacture tribal loyalty.
You're listening to My Irish Music and Culture News, brought to you by My Irish Radio, streaming the best in Irish and Celtic music all day, every day. From classic jigs and reels to the latest Irish rock and pub favorites, we celebrate the sound of Ireland worldwide. Want to be more than a listener? Be a host. Share your love for the Irish music by hosting your own show on My Irish Radio. It's easy to get started. Just send us an email, myirishradio@gmail.com. Don't forget, you can listen 24/7 at myirishradio.com. Make My Irish Radio your Irish radio.
Which brings us to the weekend sports.
The ultimate unscripted drama.
Yes. Because if we are talking about a snapshot of Irish culture, you simply cannot ignore the All-Ireland Championships. And the updates we have from the GAA desk this week are just pure adrenaline.
For our listeners who might not be familiar, we should probably establish what the GAA actually is first, because the context is so vital to understanding the passion behind these games.
Absolutely. So the GAA stands for the Gaelic Athletic Association. These are Ireland's indigenous sports, mainly hurling and Gaelic football.
And it's huge over there.
Massive. But the most important thing to know is that it is strictly amateur. These players are teachers, electricians, and accountants during the week.
Wait, really? No professional contracts?
None. There are no multi-million-dollar contracts, and players don't get treated to different cities. You play for the county you were born in. It is rooted in deep, unshakable, parish-level tribalism.
That is fascinating. The loyalty is entirely geographic and ancestral then. You're literally out there defending your neighbors.
Yes. Let's start with hurling, because the road to the All-Ireland final, which is officially set for Sunday, July 19th, by the way, was chaotic.
Let's hear it.
And again, for the uninitiated, hurling is this incredibly fast, physical field sport. It's played with a wooden stick called a hurl, or hurley, and a small ball called a sliotar.
And the scoring is a bit different from what most people are used to.
Yeah, the scoring system is unique. If you hit the ball into the net under the crossbar, past the goalie, that is a goal, and it's worth 3 points. If you hit it over the crossbar between the upright posts, that's worth 1 point.
Okay, got it.
So when you see a score like 2-26, it means they scored 2 goals and 26 individual points over the bar.
The mathematics of that scoring system must make for incredibly volatile score lines.
Yeah.
I mean, a game can completely flip in a matter of seconds.
And that is exactly what happened in the semifinals at Croke Park this week. First, Galway pulled off a massive upset against Cork. They just dominated the second half, winning 2-26 to 1-18.
Wow, a comprehensive victory for Galway.
Total domination. But the other semifinal between Limerick and Clare is what everyone is talking about. Limerick pulled off an absolute stunner. They were trailing by 6 points late in the game. And then, out of nowhere, they hit a 1-5 scoring blitz.
Okay, wait, let's break down what a 1-5 scoring blitz actually means in that context.
Right, so that is 1 goal, which is 3 points, plus 5 individual points over the bar. So that's 8 unanswered points in the dying minutes of a grueling, intensely physical match.
That's incredible.
They completely flipped the script to win the game by 2 points. The psychological resilience and just the sheer cardiovascular endurance required to pull that off when your body is failing and the clock is running out, I mean, it is hard to comprehend.
That is wild.
So now it is Galway versus Limerick for the Liam McCarthy Cup.
A comeback of that magnitude, fueled entirely by local pride, is a compelling narrative that literally no screenwriter could have drafted.
And the Gaelic football side is just as intense. The final 4 are locked in after some crazy quarterfinals. Croke Park is hosting 2 huge semifinals this weekend.
Who's playing?
Saturday evening at 6 p.m., you have Louth taking on Mayo. And then Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m., it's the old bitter rivalry, Dublin versus Kerry.
Oh, that's a big one.
Huge. The winners will play in the final on July 26th. You're going to have 80,000 screaming fans packed into Croke Park, which is a stadium sitting right in the middle of a residential neighborhood in Dublin.
You know, if we view the All-Ireland Championship through the exact same lens we've been using for the music and the film today, it becomes really clear why this matters to the broader cultural snapshot.
Yeah.
Because this is the ultimate live performance.
How do you connect the two, though? Like a play at a theater versus a football match?
Think about the function they serve in society. A new Irish language theater production funded by the Arts Council tells a very specific story about history, language, and community.
Right.
Well, a Dublin versus Kerry football match accomplishes the exact same thing, but in a completely visceral, kinetic way. It is a living, breathing cultural tradition that predates modern statecraft.
Oh, I see.
The rivalries tell the story of the geography and the people. The curated arts initiatives we discussed, like the 5 million European tours, they provide the polish to the outside world. But the GAA provides the raw, unvarnished emotion. They really balance each other out perfectly.
It keeps the culture grounded. You can have all the sophisticated electronic festivals and concert halls you want, but at the end of the day, the entire nation will still stop and hold its breath for a hurling match.
It's a dynamic equilibrium.
So let's just step back and look at the puzzle we've assembled today. We've covered some incredible ground. I mean, we are looking at a country that is simultaneously building 20,000 capacity arenas to attract global pop stars, while deeply nurturing intimate acoustic tours so local bands can learn their craft. We have hyper-specialized music festivals catering to refined palates, running right alongside multi-million euro state funding, pushing dark cinematic comedies onto the European stage.
And anchoring all of this.
Anchoring it all are the ancient, deeply tribal GAA rivalries that continue to define community loyalty.
The lifeblood of the nation's identity is just flowing through all these different channels simultaneously.
And I think the big takeaway for you listening is this. Being truly well-informed about a place isn't just about memorizing its GDP or, following the political headlines. It is about understanding the mechanics of its art scenes, feeling the pulse of its music, and recognizing the tension in its sports.
Because culture isn't a tangible export you can weigh on a scale. It's an ecosystem.
Exactly.
And observing this specific ecosystem in 2026 leaves us with a really provocative question to consider.
What's that?
Well, for decades, global audiences have held on to very specific, often nostalgic stereotypes of what Irish culture looks and sounds like.
Right, it usually involves a fiddle and a pint of Guinness.
Exactly. But when you look at this current tsunami of modern indie rock anthems, avant-garde electronic music taking over classical halls, dark cinematic explorations, and hyper-competitive indigenous sports, it forces a realization.
Yeah.
Are we witnessing the exact moment in time where Ireland successfully forces the rest of the world to fundamentally rewrite its definition of what it means to be Irish?
Wow. That is a thought that will definitely stick with me. And we will catch you on the next one.
That's it for this episode of My Irish Radio, Music and Culture News. Thanks for joining us. And remember, you can hear the best in Irish and Celtic music 24 hours a day at myirishradio.com. If you ever dreamed of sharing your favorite tunes and stories, now's your chance. Become one of the hosts. Host your own show right here on My Irish Radio. Just send us an email. It's easy as that. myirishradio@gmail.com. Until next time, it's Jamie Flanagan. Keep the music playing and keep Ireland in your heart.